Chris was when he came into us, he was a really challenging case because his brain injury was so devastating. Not only did he have the injury on the left side, he had a pretty bad injury on the right side. So for him, that's what we did. We took off his skull from both the left side and the right side, and the plan is to put them in the chill them or put them in the freezer. And when the patient's brain swelling comes down, we go and replace that. For Chris, the problem was that his injury was near the frontal sinuses here, where you have sinusitis, for example, the same sinuses, and probably because of the infection, we could not use his own bone.
When they saved my original skull and they went to put it in, things didn't work out and they had to take it out. So I was just nervous in general.
In the past, what we've done it with, how we've done it is with a mesh plate. You take a metallic mesh and you contour it with your hand and some instruments to give a sort of a feeling or look for the patient to be very similar to what he had looked before the injury. In his case, it was a pretty large area of both the left side and the right side, and no matter what you do, the contouring by hand is just not that great. So for Chris, then we thought that he would be an ideal candidate for 3D printing.
When I heard Dr. Gupta was going to create a new skull for me, I was actually pretty nervous. I just had to get some tests done, and that they were going to print everything out for me.
We actually had his skull based on the CAT scans. We had a model of his skull printed, and then on that model, we went from millimeter to millimeter. We matched the areas that were missing, both on the left side and the right side, and we printed trial pieces of 3D printed skull here, and on which we practiced. And then we were pretty happy with what we had as a result, that every millimeter of Chris's skull that was missing the bone had been printed. Now the question comes, what is the material you want to use in the 3D printing? Because the material has to be inert, it has to be strong enough, it has to be such that it can be printed, because the material, if you have some material which is not suitable for printing itself, and that's a problem. So with our partners in the industry, we came across a material called PEEK, which has been used in the past, called polyether ether ketone, and that material is pretty good when we make 3D printed structures with that, including the skull or any other part of the body.
So when they told me that I was gonna have staples in and stitches, I was worried when they took off the bandage how everything was gonna look. I felt like I was gonna look like a monster or something really crazy, but everything turned out really well.